Welcome to The Reboot Show. I'm your host, Amy Smith, and on today's episode, I'm joined by Sally A. Illingworth and Luke Stow, and we're talking about smart cities. So guys, when I think of a smart city, I think of Futurama, and I've got these images of the Jetsons cartoons and everything that comes to mind. So what are we actually talking about when we say a smart city? What does that mean?
Well, I like Minority Report. Do you remember that movie where Tom Cruise is walking through, I think it was the streetscape, and the advertisement was advertising to him live? Like, hey, Tom, I don't think that was his character, but can you come in and have a drink here and join us for this beer that we know you love? Yeah, so I think about Futurama as well when I think about the future of what a smart city looks like. I think the current climate, though, that we're in, we'll probably see a lot of health applications coming into smart cities. So can you see a time when you'll walk into a building or you'll be walking down the street and something will be measuring your temperature, and either you'll be able to get into the restaurant because your temperature's right, or you'll be sent home, or maybe even get on a tram or a bus or a train because you don't have the right temperature? That's the type of thing that I'm thinking about.
So you think that'll become built-in infrastructure, not where someone's got the little sort of handgun style thing? And
no, built-in infrastructure, absolutely, in a smart city. And I think everything's connected. So connected devices, imagine just everywhere connected devices. And with 5G and 6G and God knows what else will happen after that, all these type of connected devices are now have much more powerful computing capability. So edge computing, Internet of Things, 5G, all these things converge to come to, I know we've talked about tipping points before, but this really comes to a tipping point in when cities become these, it becomes a capability in terms of being able to connect, engage, provide us with information, provide us with health and well-being, and also personal security. So I can see this being a really fantastic time to be alive and be in a smart city. What do you think?
Pretty exciting. I mean, for the people listening to the show, if they're just going through their 9 to 5 work and they're heading to work, like, what does a day in the life look like, Sally? Maybe that's a good one for you. Like, if you're sort of thinking about your day-to-day life, what kind of impact will a smart city have on that?
That'd be laying in bed till about 12 o'clock, wouldn't it?
Well, I think the thing, Luke, on a serious note, to ensure we provide value to the audience, I think it's really important that to what Luke's saying and thinking about what the day in the life of a smart city looks like. For me, it's really about control and more integration, like with all aspects of your life, all aspects of your local community. And I think that's a big thing, because when we talk about the capability, it can sort of feel like as the consumer or as the resident to a community, if you like, you're not involved in that process, or it's something you don't have a choice in. So I think as a consumer, if we approach it with the right mindset, what it's going to allow us to do is have more control, because we will be better connected with everything that we do in our lives. And as a result, we have more control over the things that we use, particularly from a tech standpoint. So in terms of that relationship between human and tech, I think it's only going to strengthen. And then I think, we've spoken about it before on the show, what that will allow us to do as consumers is maybe feel more comfortable with that tech, because it's not as detached from us. It really becomes an integration of our day-to-day lives.
And do you see this as like a phased in approach, or is it kind of like we wake up one day and we're living in this smart city? Like, what does that look like in terms of, those emerging technologies that are coming into play?
I think it's a really great question. I sort of think about there are cities that are already sort of preparing for this and have been for quite a long time. Once I had the opportunity to work in Hong Kong, and I was working for a major airline there, and we did a strategy with them as a client. And one of the things that I was amazed at how willing they were at sharing their strategy around their technology and their technology play with the local airport, with the transport, with the local government, with the retailers. So it became a really an exercise about sharing what the strategy was for the benefit of the city.
And I think to that point, something that's really critical is, whether it's, across the globe between different governments, or even, in each country between different councils and so forth, that collaboration piece is so important, because in order for us, I think, to actually experience what a smart city is like, we require that all of those major stakeholders collaborate and work together to enable it, because you need all people to come to the party. You need the software developers, you need everyone, you need councils to approve infrastructure. So it's really a collaborative positive thing at the end of the day, and I think that's what will allow us to actually experience it.
Yeah, and is it going to be that easy? Like, what are some of the challenges that we face in order to live in this new world and this new sort of smart city?
Well, obviously, I think the millennials will be really frightened of this. I say that as a jest. No, I think that what will happen is that there will be lots of privacy concerns. I mean, we saw that with applications roll out across the globe. I mean, we have a global audience, so we've seen COVID applications that want to trace your movements as you walk around the city. So if you were next to someone that had COVID, that you'd be alerted. We've seen all of those type of technologies come into play. And I think there's been some real privacy concerns around that. Well, what do you mean? You're going to track me now all the time? We've sort of only got used to the fact that Apple phones track you, or Android phones track you.
So and some people are still oblivious to that as well.
That's right. That's right. So I think there is definitely a change process that we'll go through. But I think that Sully's earlier point around collaboration is really quite key here, because
particularly for the development of, say, standards and governing that sort of stuff, because there's actually, there's a macro government risk in terms of allowing smart cities to be built and developed, because then that creates a sort of elevated security risk for them. When it comes to, say, let's just say geopolitics, not going into the detail of it, but there's a huge risk there. Like, if you think about even just driverless cars, right, and having the capability to have, say, all of the traffic as driverless cars and the autonomous vehicles on the road, then what infrastructure risks do you have if someone is able to, through a cyber attack, intercept the systems that underpin that operation? And that concerns the government, not just local communities.
We've had the same thought about planes though for years. Like, what happens if someone can get hold of planes from the ground and crash them into each other? I think what we need to focus on here is what's the benefits? What's the positives that are going to come out of this? We'll always have troubles, right, with anything that we do. So what is this going to do for people and our lives and livelihoods? And I only see positives.
Yeah.
Look, one of the advancements that I've been thinking about...
So if you're in an autonomous car and some person out of nowhere takes control of it, we just don't worry about that?
Well, I've been in a car with you and it's probably safer. So, what I guess I'd like to say here is that we've got some real opportunity here. So drones, for example, one of my friends is working on a drone airport just outside of one of the major cities in Australia. And, the concept is really simple. Drones will deliver to your front door. So you can imagine your post box is now some type of heating and cooling safe that can be temperature controlled. Deliveries can be made, the drone flies up, the door unlocks when it recognises the drone code, your parcel goes inside. It might be something that needs to be kept cool, something that's hot, and it's refrigerated or heated until you come home and collect it. I mean, these are quite exciting advancements, and I think that we're pretty close. This tipping point's coming very quickly, particularly because of the technology advancements around cellular connectivity. I mean, we did the NBN, don't get me started on that, but we should have gone wireless. And now when you look at it, we're going to see, I think, a large amount of the population of the world using this type of wireless technology.
Can I just say, sorry, to keep you comfortable and focus on the benefits of all of this,
thank you.
In addition to that conversation around security, like, to your credit, there is, I think, some major benefits from a security standpoint. So if you think about yourself, say, as a homeowner, or even if you're renting, it doesn't matter what the scenario is, and you have greater connectivity and control remotely over things in your home, so security systems and so forth, you can see what's going on, you have that visibility. To your point about the benefits, there are the benefits on the security side of things, as well as the macro challenges.
For the people listening to this, that it kind of just seems a little bit out there for them, right? They might not be able to really conceptualise, exactly the extent of some of these emerging technologies. What are some of the things that they can start to do to prepare themselves for this new world, and what are some of the things that they can perhaps adopt now that's going to help them move forward?
I think the first thing they can do is watch the Reboot show, because we'll keep you informed and subscribe. Look, I think the second thing is just have the conversation, start the dialogue. I think one of the things that I think about when I think about technology and people is just the dialogue being started. So start the conversation and ask questions. So for grandparents out there, ask your grandchildren to explain to you what their thoughts are about smart cities and emerging technology. I think all of that just plays to a much more informed, a much more educated society, and then we start to deal with technology as it starts to come through. And it isn't going to stop. That's the other thing. It's
Yeah.
in every factor.
It's here to
so
stay.
smart cities are just, they're going to happen, and smart communities.
Well, if
and
you think
that's
about the
quite right.
connectivity standpoint, and this is in terms of adoption, what things people can start to adopt now that sort of will feed into that bigger picture of what a smart city actually looks like and how people operate in that. Something so basic as being able to, remotely control your air conditioning unit in an apartment or in a house.
That just makes me feel like I'm being lazy if I'm just sitting at home and I'm just like talking to my house.
In terms of like connectedness
Yeah.
with that thing, that tangible thing, that house, like that's really what the future of smart cities is. So at a really basic level, that's something that we're going to see at scale, where that's something we're going to see advance. So in terms of early adoption, people who are already adopting something as simple as that, they're already really a part of that process of getting ready, future ready, if you like, to live in a smart city, because it's just going to be like that, but at scale.
And what are you guys most excited about this new smart city world that we're going to live in? I guess maybe in your lives or just the lives of people around you?
Well, I'd still like to drive my car, so I wouldn't say I'm excited about having an autonomous car, despite what Luke may think about my driving. I'm excited that it's so unknown from an experience standpoint. So I think, particularly say the three of us here on the show with the audience, we can always be talking about what this looks like and what capabilities exist, what capabilities are likely to exist. But I think what I'm most excited about is what's that experience being a part of that smart city? What does that feel like? What are the new concerns that come about? What are the new ideas that are brought about when we start to engage in our lives differently on a day-to-day basis? That's what I'm most excited about.
Yeah. What
I'm
about you,
excited
Luke?
about the convenience. So, like,
Are you lazy?
I agree. I can be.
He wants the
I can
drone to
be.
come and deliver his pizza takeaway. That's fine.
Yeah, how did you know I'm pizza? Yeah, absolutely, capricciosa.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
basically, so basically, look, what I think about is the experiences and the convenience of it. And look, I love that. I love the fact that we'll be in a situation where I might be able to even have my private stock of wine that may be held somewhere delivered by a drone to the restaurant.
What a
right
life.
there and then within
What a
like
life.
15 minutes to share with my friends. I mean, how good would that be? I mean, I'll probably spend a lot more time at the restaurant, but I'm looking forward to it, and I think we can all be pretty excited about the benefits from it from a health and security point of view as well.
And what do you think are the biggest takeaways, for people listening to the show that are wondering around these smart cities and how it's going to impact them? What are the biggest takeaways that you're seeing?
Probably
share?
driverless cars will be safer than getting in a car with Sally would be one.
Yeah,
but
we've
the other
established
thing,
that, yeah.
that I think about is I think don't be afraid of it. Start the dialogue, tune into the Reboot show and get your updates and stay informed about what's happening within your community.
Yeah, I'd say, certainly agree with Luke. Tune into the Reboot show and become a part of the conversation largely because I think that the more you become a part of the conversation, the more you are open-minded about it, the more you are willing to embrace what's happening, and you can really become a part of I wouldn't say solution because it's not as though there's actually a problem, but you can actually really help to shape what that looks like, because with everything to do with tech, for example, you can have all these great ideas that we want this to be used in this way.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the users actually control what ends up happening with that tech based on how they use it. So I think as consumers, as residents to different communities and cities and so forth, we really have a massive role to play in this. So I think becoming a part of the conversation is what everyone should be doing.
Yeah, and I think it's going to help a lot of partners out there when they're telling their partners to take the bins out, and if it happens all automatically,
Just
how
send a
good's
push
that?
notification.
How good's that? You don't need to harass your partner to take the bins out overnight.
Well, the clean up after dogs, I mean, that's the sort of smart city feature that I need.
That's
where,
true. It will solve a lot of neighbourhood disputes.
It does a lot of mess,
Yep.
you know what I mean?
So I think on that note, I'll end it there. Thank you so much for joining me today, Sally and Luke, and make sure to subscribe to the Reboot show. There'll be plenty of things like this episode and more to come, and we want you to be involved. So until next time, see you then.
Bye.
Bye.